Hey y'all, it's Renegade. Let's take a quick sip of Reali-Tea for Drag Race España 5, Episode 8. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Quacker Jack.
Hola, chicas.
Hola, Jack. Well, tonight we went from our final 6 to our top 5, and due to us being so deep in the competition, we know this is the final week that the heart twist will come into play, so felt like all the drama was really surrounding who our last eliminated queen, Ferran, would give her half heart to, especially because it's possible at this point she could give it to her bestie or your fave, Jack Laka, and the twist would be kind of null and void altogether. So I thought they did a really great job this episode of playing into that sort of intrigue and suspense of what could possibly happen. They set up, a number of different possibilities of who could have been in the bottom, but ultimately knowing the result here, Jack, and without getting too much into what actually happened, now that we've kind of seen the last of the heart twist, did you enjoy what we got from it this season?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, it's hard because sometimes you see a girl who you know needs to be in the bottom and they get saved, and you're like, damn, that sucks. But I guess it is what it is, unfortunately. And I don't know. At this point, I see that the season can still be saved. So I
Saved.
liked the drama of it.
I'm like, I don't know if the season needs to be saved. I thought it was doing pretty well, personally. I've been
It
enjoying
is doing pretty well, but if there are certain people that if
it.
they win, I'm like, what was the point of the season? Throw it out.
Right. No, I mean, I get you're still, recovering from the loss of Dinabola, so I understand
Girl,
your pain.
we
I
will
get it.
never recover on the runway from Denibola. These last 2 weeks have been a little rough. Let's not act like they haven't either.
I was
I'm like,
actually
oh
gonna
my god.
say, do you want to just jump right into that? Because we could get into the actual drama and what happened, play out with the actual critiques here. Because yeah, I was very underwhelmed this week on the runway, which is really sad because this week's category, Dress to Die, I was really excited for it. Like this is a really good category. I still remember like season sevens, and a lot of them went like a very campy direction, but it was still very iconic. I feel like for the times. I don't feel like I got any of that here at all, which makes me really sad. But Jack, who stood out and who stood out for the wrong reasons?
Well, let's take it from the worst. We'll go bad first because we'll end on a positive. So for me, the bottom two were Alexandra and Laka. And what really stood out for me was that Alexandra's like wearing nothing basically, which kind of makes sense because that's her character a lot of the times, and she just put a shoe on her forehead essentially, and like a stream of blood. So essentially she got killed by a shoe getting in her head, but it wasn't even going to the level of like even putting any little molding clay or anything in there to really trying to make it look like it actually is underneath her skin or anything. And I just felt like since there was such little detail and such little outfit going on, and I'm glad she wants to show off her body, like that's totally fine. But it was just such a simple look, and you were just like, great, you got a shoe thrown at your head. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
guess
didn't
that's
see
how
how
you
she
died.
died from it. I wish she would have, like you said, put the heel in her head to something, some sort of detail, a little blood, something more like how did the blood get on the top of the shoe, but there was no blood on her.
Yeah, it was just like a small stream of blood, it felt like. And then with Laka, this is something that Laka has done multiple times. It is a lack of attention to detail. She comes out in a good outfit, right? Like we're all like, okay, you're a matador. Like this is good, this is fine, it fits well, it is the theme. Like as long like matadors, we all kind of expect one way to die. She pulls out and there's just a horn, just like it looks like it's basically just glued to the middle of her stomach, and she just put some rhinestones around it that were red. She doesn't even have a hole in the back of her outfit. This is another fucking time that if I seen Locke just not even care about the execution of the outfit or care about like the realism of making anything, she was not distressed in her outfit at all. There was no dirt, there was no blood anywhere. She should have had huge amounts of blood because if a whole horn of a bull goes through you, you could have even put it like an organ or two like wrapped around the horn, right? Because it might have pierced. It was her abdomen. She
She
could have
did. She
definitely
had two little drops of blood
no.
dangling from the, the tip of the
It
horn.
was so embarrassing. It was so stupid. It was so bad. This takes me back to when she did that. I put on a corset and just glued the olive to it and said, "Ta-da, I'm done." Like it was so bad. It was like kind of disrespectful almost to me. I was like, I can't with this because it's these like lacks of details. I'm just like, I don't even get it. And how is her outfit completely without any dirt or anything? You're telling me you didn't fall down into the dirt as a matador? Yes, you did, bitch. Her outfit should have been dirty. She should have been bloody. There should have been a huge blood stain in the back of it. Like, it's just these attention to details are just the worst. But we did get saved, kind of, a little bit, right? At first, I thought Satine was the only bitch in here who was going to do something that made sense. So she has this outfit. It's one of her kind of signature looks in like this kind of dress. It looks nice on her, but a chandelier has fallen on her, and there's blood all over her, all the way down her body. You can see that she has clearly been impaled, and this is how she died. You completely understand. You get the story immediately, and that was why I was like, at least we had someone who kind of who like understood the fucking assignment, right? Because it felt like no one else did it until Daphne came out. And I know that you and I both were here thinking like, oh, Daphne definitely did not like do this category at all because she was just a swan ballet dancer. And we were like, really? And then she
I
pulled
mean,
out like
she
a
did
bag from her mouth.
technically just have like the swan glued to her corset too, and she danced
She
around as a
did.
swan.
She did. She did.
She
She did.
clearly ripped it
And
off in the lip sync later too, but the
right. Well, I
performance art was
mean,
there. She sold it in the end, I
right. She
guess.
goes to the back of the stage, and I'm like, that was it? That's so trash. And then she comes back and she's like, no, wait. And she has oil all over her, and she's starting to push all this black oil paint all over her body, making this message that the bag was just the first part, and it's like the destruction of pollution and stuff of the environment. And you're like, oh. And then she just rubs it all over everything on her. Everything was pristine white, so she's rubbing black all over it. And you're like, oh. Like,
I wish she
so
went
she
a little
died.
bit harder though. Like I wish she would have actually
I
got it more on the outfit, got a little bit more
mm-hmm.
like on her hair a little bit. Just got a little bit messier with it. Because she kept it
Yeah,
mostly just on her chest area, which is fine, but like I think that would have been better if she would have just if that's what she was gonna sell and she was gonna do it just like that. I wish she would have just done it from the start versus,
yeah, she should have gotten down half the runway, pulled out the bag, and then been like like and then like get the oil everywhere in her hair everywhere, and just been like because she was supposed to be doing like the Swan Lake, like the Black Swan kind of or thing, going on. It's like, okay, so like we got the concept, we understood, and we eventually got there. And it was something to look at because a lot of the other girls were either missing the distressing, or the concept wasn't good, or the concept was like the distressing stuff was messy. Like Margarita's, hers was like at first I didn't really know how she died, and then I kind of like looked at it. I was like, okay, so she told us she was baking and it exploded, whatever, blah blah blah. But if you looked at her outfit, it was really poorly kind of put together. Like the tool coming out of the boobs that were supposedly exploded or whatever. Like it was just not good. Like it was a good concept. It was just executed poorly. So it was just
yeah,
like there were
I
just so many misses.
also hate the fact that like she had to explain us what happened because I did not get what was going on here until she explained what happened. And then when she did explain what happened, it's like, okay, well, then why would you have like such tiny little holes on your chest? Because we know you like to wear those gigantic,
A
breastplates.
gigantic
So it's like,
breastplate, yeah.
how is like your whole not top just not blown off at this point? But
Well,
yeah, I mean, it,
it was
she's
also
also
weird
not
because
really
the
like a
hair,
fashion queen too, so there was a
right?
little bit of a comedy esque to it. So I didn't mind that as much. So I'm not expecting levels of polish out of Margarita, but it's
Yeah,
still a situation where I'm like I liked it more once I saw the rest of what the other girls were giving. So I was like, okay, well, some things
yeah.
really aren't
She's
giving
like
nothing at
moving up
all.
by comparison.
But I was like, at least she did something, right? So I was like,
Yeah,
I wasn't as mad at Margarita this week.
I wasn't as mad at her, but I just I like that she distressed, and it was clear we could see the fire thing happening. We're like, okay, so you burned, but how did you get burned or whatever? And when she showed us like the cupcakes or whatever, that's when I knew like, okay, even without her telling me, I probably would have came to the conclusion. But then like seeing how some of the distressing was a little messy, and her hair felt very camp, and her outfit felt more realistic or like a realism kind of element. And so there was a disconnect there for me. And that was my only issue really with her is like it could have been executed so much better. But like again, she still did better than Alexandra and Locke, and there's no question about it. So
Oh, for
like
sure.
she's it's fine. Just know that we have been suffering the last couple weeks without Denebola, and I hope that the curse will be lifted next week and we'll get a good runway. I'm praying for it.
I mean, don't hold your breath for makeovers, but let's talk about the good though, 'cause there was some good on
True.
this runway. There was some okay on this runway, I would say, at least.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was just Daphne eventually did the performance. Satine looked amazing, right? And then finally, I would say Nyx did pretty well. Like at first, underneath the light, I didn't see any distressing, and I was really upset. But as when they came back to like talk to them about critiques and stuff, I could completely see the distressing. I could see the blood. I could see the dirt that like had traveled down from the potted plant that hit her, because she was another one where I was like, I wouldn't have known necessarily how you died, but then as soon as the huge lights weren't on, then I could see the distressing. So it was like it's one of those. It's better when it's a still picture.
Yeah, I still don't get the idea as much though, 'cause it's like I feel like if you can't just look at it and just know what's happening, then like why do it? But to each their own. It was fine. I would have loved to see Denebola's concept though, so I'm gonna be on the lookout for Instagram posts to see
Yeah,
what's
that
going on
unaired
there.
look. I'm gonna need it.
But let's go to the main stage here now that we're done with that experience there for you, Jack. I'm sorry I had to make you go through it, but the roast was a lot of fun here, and I thought they had a fun concept because it was basically like they were reading their wills, and to add to the comedy to it as well, they had the eliminated girls there, kind of be like the dearly departed. So let's start out with the good here because it felt like it was very clear top three, bottom three at this point.
Oh yeah.
And let's begin with your fave, Laka, because she was. I mean, to start out the show, I thought she did really well, actually, because she's a lot more, I think, a better presenter than I think I maybe give her credit for at certain times, because she does read well, she sounds well. I don't necessarily think a lot of her jokes were the best, but I do think
No.
she presented them in a way that made me feel like she was still kind of confident in them. So, I don't necessarily think she had like a standout performance. I think she's top by default, but
Yes.
as far as being put together, she was there. She was fine. She showed up. She did it, and she was safe. You know.
That's the best word for it, is safe. She started off really strong, actually. I was like, okay, so like she got a joke or two in, and the crowd was like laughing. I was like, okay, yeah, that was a good joke. Even if I'm not a huge fan of hers, like I can still expect these good things. But I think during the middle of her set, it really started to like go to a ha, yeah, ha ha, like very small amounts of laughs or something. And it just felt the energy dropped, and then it came back right at the very end when she was getting done with it, and it felt very much like a valley. And it was still safe though. It was still like above sea level. If sea level's the safe line, she was very much top safe.
Yeah,
And
there's
we
no
were
flooding
waiting for
there.
other girls. No, no, no. There was no flooding, and we were waiting. You know, I think when we were like looking at who's going to be top, who's going to be bottom, we were all like, "Well, you don't need to tell us because we already know." So she did fine.
Yeah, I felt like the intrigue maybe came from more like who exactly was going to win because our
Hmm.
top two this week were really, really good. And I mean, no surprise here that Satine does well again in another sort of like comedy S challenge. And she's clearly a performer. I think that's what we're really getting here from Satine is that she's just a professional through and through. And she's so good at selling these like characters. And anytime you kind of allow her to let her be a ham in front of people, she's gonna take it up and use it to its full extent. And she was one of the ones that I think only that I think I laughed at most of her material for the most part. Like other Queen was really good, but I don't necessarily think I laughed a lot at the material specifically, and I'll get to why later. But I just feel like I really loved Satine's character and the way that she ended it. She was the only person that actually died And I was like, see, that's thinking things through, like going to the next level. So I'm just like, I love Satine's over the topness. So she's
Right.
easily like so good, so good.
It was easily top two, and it was only between her and Margarita. But with hers, it felt so natural. She just really felt like she was just going off of the cuff of like what she had, and there was like maybe a phrasing here or there that you could maybe do better, but it really felt like she knew the set, she knew what she was doing. And you're right, she's a complete professional. And one of my favorite things is when someone dies and they come back just to say something like shameful or shady, and then they'll die. I think there's nothing better than that, like as a joke. So when she died and then came back to like tell bitches off real quick and then was like dead. Even when she was dropping to the ground, she did that the hand motion just to let them know that she don't like them, and then she died. Last, like she made sure they all knew that. Yeah, you're at her well, and it's cool or whatever, but y'all are still not liked by her, and that really sent it over the top for me.
I feel like she easily could have gotten her third win here, but Margarita I think did really well as well too. She also kind of really delved into her goofy character, and thing I liked about her set the most is she did feel like Satine was very confident, but there was something about the way with her stepping out from the mic from behind the podium that showed I think an extra level of confidence in her joke. But I will say that a lot of Margarita's jokes were a lot more simplistic. But I don't think that was necessarily a bad thing in a roast setting, especially when you have like guest judges who don't necessarily know, who these queens are 100%, or the audience that don't necessarily know the queens. But if you're able to kind of give a more simple joke that allows them to kind of, just kind of look and, oh, okay, I get that, then I think that kind of works a little bit better than maybe Satine kind of. I think she was playing a little bit more on like having known the girls a little bit more, so I think a lot of her material is a little bit more personal. So I think that's where Margarita really kind of stood out in that aspect.
Yeah, I could see that. And I think with margaritas, one thing I think Margarita does that she doesn't need to do is really relying on those props. Um, Again, the
You mean
huge
the
like
breastplate?
yes, the huge breastplate that was like Z cups kind of thing. It was crazy over the top. And look, you know me, I love a good breastplate. I love when a girl has big boobs. Like I can't get enough of when girls actually do their correct padding and actually draw the line for the cleavage if they're not going to do a breastplate, or cutlets or something. But with her, it just felt like it was a shield to me. It really felt like she always had that as a backup plan. And so for that, I was like, I think you need to trust yourself a little more. But also, when she kept going over to the girls, I was like, oh, ha ha ha, she went over to that girl. And then it was like, okay, now she's doing it again. And I was like, oh, ha ha, she went over the girl. And then like a third time, I was like, okay, so you need to get back to like the place so I can see you up there. Like it's getting a little ridiculous for you to stop looking at the camera or looking at us and start looking at the girls over there. But I will
I didn't
say,
mind that as
eh,
much, but I get why you would nitpick it.
yeah, it's just like a small thing. Like, at top six, that's kind of where we're at. You're either in the top or the bottom, and at this point, it's kind of like if it wasn't so clear tonight, right? Like we might have had a nitpick here or there just to figure out like what could be done better, or if I had to give her a critique, like that would be something I'd look for her to really realize that like she's better off than she realizes. I think.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like she uses them as like maybe like a comfort blanket. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
babies have their little blankets, things like that before. But I also want to like really know like who brought those because we've seen like 8 different girls wear them at this point. Have they been washed since they've been worn so many times? Like I really need to know. Like because that breastplate has been making its rounds. It's like an official like 13th contestant this season at this point. But let's talk about our actual bottom three for the episode. We can begin with maybe Nyx because she was probably the one that again like it was giving me a lot of shades of her talent show from episode 1 where she reads it well, right? It's semi well presented. In this case, she went like with a character, so I feel like it was stifling that portion a little bit because she was
Hmm.
going for like the rich I'm better than you kind of character, and I already knew the judges were gonna have an issue with it. to begin with. You know, as soon as you start going aggressive, as soon as you start going like I'm better than you kind of thing, unless you're like really good at the shtick and you have like absolutely like amazing material, like I'd say like Bianca Del Rio level material, like it's very hard to pull that character off. Like it's very few times where I think we've seen that character be successful, and I just don't feel like it worked really for Nyx, especially because I don't necessarily think that's where her comedy thrives in. I think she plays maybe a more stupid character or a more aloof character a little bit better than she plays these like mean characters. So I think if she went in a different direction, she would have been a lot more successful. But she was, I think, the one. I would say if I was to actually rank them in an order, she'd probably actually be fifth for me. Like I do think she did pretty bad tonight.
I agree. She didn't do the best, and I think the character is really to blame. And when you think about like a strong, like aggressive kind of character like this, someone who's going to like talk down to others, think of all the characters that you know you've seen this. I think the big one being like The Devil Wears Prada, Meryl Streep. Like no one can just do that. Like that's Meryl Streep kind of thing, right? And so when we think about like doing this character, you have to really assess how will I get the comedy bits out without being just that kind of character that's going to annoy everyone. At first, it worked well. The jacket thing was funny, and then the jokes took too long to come out.
Hmm.
And I think it could have gone well if she just been a little more uppity and a little less talky.
Right. There
And
was a lot of setup for the jokes that didn't feel like it needed
right.
here. That I don't think she needed editing
And
a little bit.
yes, and if she was going to do a character, you're probably right. A sillier character, a more goofy character would be great. But honestly, I think Nyx is so charismatic. She could have just kind of gone off the cuff there with herself and just been herself. I think she already makes us enjoy her personality. She's very likable, and she could just joke about the girls, and it would still be funny. I don't know
Hmm.
what I didn't fully understand the Satine joke that she was getting at the whole time. Like they were like, "Oh yeah, this is a good joke. You just have to tell it better." I didn't really understand what the joke necessarily was, but I was like, "There's just too much talking here and not enough getting to that punchline." And I just think that's the big critique that comes away from her set.
Hmm.
And I
It
agree, she's
was a
probably
lot
fifth
of
place.
what had to do in her initial talent show, where there's a lot of talking and not a lot of jokes. And
You know, I loved her talent show. That shit would have been towards the top for me.
I mean, I know you like the talent show, but you also said it yourself. You just like people being mean to each other sometimes too. You think that's funny,
I
but
do enjoy when a bitch is mean, even if it's not supposed to be funny.
that's
I'll be
not
like,
fun.
"That's so funny" because you were like telling the truth. It's funny.
Yeah, I know you think that's funny, but I don't know if it works necessarily on the main stage for Drag Race, though. You know, it's just it's few and far between where that really works. Like you said, Meryl Streep, like.
Yeah,
Very few often that we're gonna get Meryl Streep on Drag Race, right? So,
very,
um,
very few times. Yeah.
well, let's go and get to our next girl here, and I would say Alexandra. Uh, was probably the girl I would say if I was to just make a bottom two. She probably would have been safe if it wasn't for the twist, but you know, we do have to have a bottom three due to the twist. So yeah, I'm not upset that she's ultimately here if we're gonna like look at the entire scope of Alexander's journey at this point. Like I can't be like, yeah, well, she kind of did really well at this point, so we can maybe save her here. Like I don't think there's anything you could do to not put her in the bottom here because she did well. She started out, you know, I'd probably say the best of the three that we're going to talk about here in the bottom. But then it was just like she did the same thing too, where it's like she started to do this thing where she was like walking over to the girls directly, and it, I don't know if I necessarily say it was aggressive, but I could get how it could be read as aggressive because like her tone did kind of get like a little like more it like it get she was trying to be like again that kind of mean like reading people thing, but like she doesn't have the charisma I think to pull it off, and it was just it did come off a little awkward, and it was just it wasn't as funny. There was definitely points where I was just not laughing at her jokes, so like Yeah.
she hit a dive like in the cliff. She accidentally walked off the cliff and everything just like bombed right then. And there was no coming back. It just kind of like she was doing well, steadily going up, and then tripped, fell down the stairs directly down, and we were all like, "Oh shit!" And she never recovered. And so much so that the next performer literally used it as a joke for their set, like, and it was okay. I would say she probably is fourth place because she did get some decent jokes in early on, but it was hard to keep that rhythm going, and I think that's what all three of the girls who are in the bottom really struggled with was getting a rhythm.
Hmm. And if you're talking about that drop off point, like I think they definitely each had different points where that just kind of happened, right? Whereas like Alexandra probably started off a little bit higher, but she definitely dropped off in the middle. Nyx was probably a little bit more steady, but she definitely like very slowly just tumbled down a hill, right? Daphne felt like she was skydiving because she started off with that incredible high, and then her second joke was just crash land and then flatline for the rest of the set. Like this was yeah, this was a flop. Not one joke for her landed for me at all. I don't understand why she decided to do like the future Daphne thing, which I think was initially I was thinking like, okay, is she trying to? Because I know she's not gonna think like because she's younger, she's gonna try to be like, okay, well, I can't die now, so clearly this is gonna have to happen when I'm like in the 50s, 60s, 70s when I'm older and decrepit. But then she didn't do like any face makeup or anything, right, to make it like seem like she's older. But she's wearing this weird outfit that's also I don't know where the direction was that she thought she was going with this. What part of it that she thought was funny. I don't even know if she thought that it was funny because she wasn't even doing the thing where she was laughing at the jokes. like like she had maybe one or two moments where there was a giggle here or there, but it was rough. It was rough.
Rough is the correct word. I mean, it had a lot of potential, this concept of coming back from the future, right? And warning people of what happens, or being like, I saw how this worked out, so let me get some things straight real quick. And like kind of going off on the girls, right? Would have been a great character to have. Her character, however, was like Nyx, but like on times two amount of the words that we had to set up things, and then we weren't even sure when the punchlines came because the jokes were never funny, and it felt so weird. It even got to the point where all of the girls at some point made fun of Crystal, and I think Daphne's was like the only time someone made fun of Crystal. And I was like, well, that wasn't funny. Like every other time we were all laughing, Crystal was basically the seventh member up there because the girls kept ragging on her every moment they could. And she got to her, and I was like, well, that wasn't. I don't know, but nothing fit for her, and it was weird because this is her first time really having a huge slip up in the competition, and so it was like she needs to like she's definitely in the bottom no matter what, and she got to make the order of the roast. Plus, she put herself last, and then she comes out with a concept and doesn't even execute the concept.
Yeah, it was literally a flop all around. But I do have to wonder, Jack. I do have to wonder. Because as we go to Untucked, right, we do start to get some confessionals from Daphne saying, because, they're trying to figure out at this point who's going to get the heart, right? Daphne is saying in her confessional, I want to get the heart so that way I could save Nyx and take out Alexandra. Did she flop on purpose to get rid of Alexandra?
No, no, she did not. No, she did not. That is
I
not what
know she didn't,
happened.
but imagine. I was
Look,
dying though with that drama though, with them and Untucked and every like you know what I mean? Like this could have gone any sort of way when it comes down to it. And I think we're both cheering ultimately when Miss Satine, who unfortunately has to make the hard decision again, saved Nyx. So I mean Daphne got what
right.
she wanted regardless. So
Well, and we have to talk about it because like let's back up a second. It comes to that point in the season where they always ask you, they're like, "Who here should go home?" And all the girls are like, "I don't know what to say. I don't know how I feel." And I was getting real pissed off with the girls because all of them were coming up with an excuse to not say someone or I don't feel like going doing this. I was getting real mad. I was like, you better start saying it or I'm going to put a six-way lip sync right now.
Well, it's because I mean the two girls that were should have said each other, Nyx and Alexandra, apparently were. I mean, Alexandra thought that they weren't going to say each other, so that's why she said Daphne, which led to Daphne being pissed off. But then Nyx decides to just go out and just be honest and say Alexandra's name, which then that happens there, and I'm just like, oh, there's so much drama here, so much drama.
Yeah. Yeah.
These
Everyone,
girls are
and
so messy.
surprisingly, it was so surprising because Margarita starts off and she's like, Nyx. And I was like, you're saying Nyx over Alexandra, who's been in the bottom for the last three episodes? And really? Is this what we're doing? I was like, and then she came up with this bullshit excuse of like, well, I saved Nyx earlier and I want to give a girl that I know some love. And I was like, shut up. That's not what this is. And I was like, just say how you feel because I hate when someone says some bullshit because she essentially just said, well, I said Nyx, but I would have said Alexandra if I didn't want to support her. And I was like, that felt worse. Like to me, I would take that as so much worse. I'd be like, girl, fuck off, kind of thing. But
Right.
so then Alexandra says Daphne. She's like, well, I ain't saying Nyx. And honestly, I have some beef with Daphne because we're not close like everyone else is with me or whatever. And so Daphne's like, this bitch, and then Satine's like, I don't want to answer this question, but since I have to and you're forcing me to, I do think off of track record, Alexandra, you have to go. I love you. I want to make that clear. I don't want anyone to go, but if someone deserves to be in the bottom right now, it is the girl who has been in the bottom constantly. And then Nyx, whole ass breakdown on the stage. She's like, I know that there's two of us who've been in the bottom both times, and I was nervous that she was about to say herself. I was like, I swear to God, if you say yourself right now, I'll come up on that stage and slap you myself, just like the judges panel will. It's like it's that sin. You're not supposed to do it. Laka said Alexandra, I believe, as well, and then uh, Daphne was like, you know what, Alexandra needs to go home. Fuck that bitch. And I was like, ooh. So we get to Untuck. There's all this mess, and everyone's like kind of nice, but it's that awkward. Like, how do you tell a girl who you just said you want her to go home? Like, I still want you here. I still like you. Like nothing more fun than a little pot stirring before the elimination.
Especially because someone's gonna have to save someone right afterwards too, so you get all this drama. But I mean, like, it really come down to whether or not Fran was gonna give it to like Satine, or would just like neutralize and give it to Laka, and ultimately decides to stir things up and give it to Satine again, who saves Nick, which very happy that happens. And we end up with a bottom two of Alexandra and Daphne, and this could be the lip sync of the season. I
It is
think
probably.
for sure because like they're both going pretty hard, but like I don't think there's any question, and I don't want to hear nobody in comments. I don't want to hear it even from you, Jack, 'cause I know you like to say some people go too hard. I'm like I don't believe that being a thing because like Daphne not
It's
only did
definitely
she
a
ate
thing.
the lip sync, but she ate up Alexandra. She left no crumbs. The police came to investigate, but they couldn't find Alexandra's body because it was eaten. There was no evidence behind, and she got off scot free. Sorry, there's still a missing poster out there for Alexandra at this moment in time because oh
Let's
my god.
Okay, so Daphne was like, I want this one. I want with Alexander, so I can send her bitch ass home. And Satine was like, all right, per, I'll give you that. And I was like, okay, great. And the moment it started, it was this upbeat pop song, and you just see Daphne go to the tens, and then she goes past it, and you're like, she's doing every single thing on beat. Like she was like, "I'm not a dancer, bitch. I'm a dancer," and I was like, "Okay." So she's killing her, and she did not let her breathe. Her foot was applied to Alexandra's neck the whole goddamn lip sync, and it was crazy because I swear she didn't miss a beat. Daphne was like in her mother's womb being told the Terminator instructions of like, you will send Alexandra home this episode eventually when you turn of this age. Like, it was like her life mission going on. And this, she said, I'm going to do this because I talk that shit and I'm going to walk through on it. And I was like, like, she's already dead. Leave her alone. But like, Not a
She's like, no,
moment
the
did she let
song's not
up.
over. The song's not over. She died in the first 2 seconds. I still have the whole song left.
And she had put on shoes because normally she came out in, in the ballet kind of slipper thing. She put on actual like heels and whatnot, and then she did it. I was like, like not her out dancing every bitch on the stage here, and now in heels. Like at first I was like, oh yeah, she's probably killing it because the ballet. I looked down and I said, she's got shoes on, and I was like, the way she moved was crazy. And she looked at Alexandra straight in her face and said, "Bitch, you might work 6 days a week, but I dance for a living." And then when she got told, they collected the cards on the panel and they were like, "Let's see who's going to go." No need. All of us knew Daphne was staying. Daphne was like, "Yeah, thanks." Didn't even care about Alexandra. Just walked past her like didn't matter. Like she was just some trash on the street. And I was like, like it was just so disrespectful, and I was living for it.
I mean, like, can you think of a moment where a girl has had like the title of lip sync assassin, right? And actually like got it in like a way that was like a real way, right? Like and not just like being in the bottom multiple times, like actually killing lip syncs when they're in the bottom, like Alexandra has. Have you ever seen them go into a lip sync with another girl and just get demolished? Like the next episode after like one of these lip syncs. I don't think I've seen this like happen before that I can
I've
really like think
never
of off the
seen a
top of my head.
massacre
Like we've
this
seen
kind of
people like
level. Mm-mm.
lose because of maybe like track record and whatnot, but like yeah, this I don't think we've seen someone get just completely massacred like Alexander was.
Obliterated. Like
The missing
her
posters are still there. We don't know where she is to this day. Don't know.
Alexandra had on her like outfit that had basically nothing on. It was just a panty and a bra, right? And by the end of it, the bra wasn't even covering any of the tits anymore. It was just in the middle dangling. And I was like, girl, you should have just taken that off at that point. She took off that small ass little bit of fabric she had on before at the start of the lip sync. And Daphne said, you shouldn't have taken off that shield, girl.
That was insane.
It was
Well,
uh
but that was really good though. I'm like, okay, I guess this is one of those moments where it's like, yeah, you hit the bottom, but okay, I think you kind of redeemed yourself with a lip sync there, Daphne. So yeah,
definitely.
I think you're okay here. I think you're fine. Well, I mean, do you have any final words for Alexandra? Because I mean, like I said, she's still missing to this day. We will never know where she is when we
Girl,
secretly know Daphne has hidden the body somewhere.
Alexandra works 6 days a week, and she will remind you that at every moment. That seventh day of the week is Daphne whipping her ass.
Ooh.
Alexandra, I am so sorry, girl. It didn't have to be that devastating, but it was her time. So I think we're all kind of happy by the outcome. Obviously, I wanted to see Alexandra make it all the way to the end just so I could be like, Denable only didn't make it there because of this. But I still feel like that's true because Daphne just said, actually, no, no one's making it there if I don't want them there. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
she will gladly throw a challenge on purpose to send home a girl.
Probably if she doesn't like the girl, she's throwing it.
Oh, geez. Well, I mean, that takes us to our top five here, and I think next week we have makeovers, which I'm not really looking forward to, honestly, especially because Denebola isn't here.
No,
But I'm still enjoying this season, so I guess I'll give it a chance. But uh, I mean, I don't see any way how Satine loses. I don't. Like
I don't either.
she's hitting on all cylinders. It's giving me like shades of like I would even say like without that beginning stage that she kind of had where they kind of had to throw her in the bottom for that ugly outfit that she made based off of the already ugly outfit because she had the heart and they thought that she was going to save herself but then they ended up saving her again. um Ever since that moment it kind of felt like she's been doing nothing but just top placement after top placement after top placement. And it's just like I don't. It gets feels like so long ago when she was in the bottom. So I'm just like I don't even think how she could even if she stumbles. She's clearly a performer. She's gonna get her way to get out of that lip sync regardless who scans. Like I don't see how Satine loses. I just don't.
I Next week, I think the people to really watch are Laka and Margarita because those two have both been told. Well, Margarita has been told by everyone, including her friends, that the makeup ain't there. And Laka, I mean, sometimes the outfits hit, sometimes they don't. And if we're going into a makeover challenge, I am not sure what Laka will do because she's very to herself about her kind of drag. And I don't know how well she's going to do at putting another person into her drag. It's going to be kind of 50-50 in my mind. And I could see us having a Margarita versus Laka, like bottom two, and giving Daphne a win, and now we'll have three girls at two things. And either they're going to get rid of Nyx or they're going to get rid of Laka, is what my mind was going to, or maybe they'll get rid of Margarita, and then there'll be two girls with two badges, and for the finale, then it's going to be a top two of Daphne and Satine Greco, and we'll get the same like outcome from episode one, and it'll be a redo. Like I just don't see it not happening that way.
Yeah, it feels like it's either Satine versus Margarita or Satine versus Daphne in the top. Because I mean, they both have lip syncs where Satine lost. Satine did lose technically to Margarita, but they saved her, right?
Mm,
And then she did. I mean, according to them, she lost. And then she did lose the top two lip sync that one episode to Daphne. So if we're looking for a redemption arc in the top two, she technically could be sitting next to either of those two, and then her beat them in the lip sync, and it's still technically be considered a full arc. I mean, honestly, the Margarita one might make a little bit more sense because she sacrificed herself only to get saved, and then she goes on to win against the person that she sacrificed herself against. I don't
no,
know.
you couldn't tell me that Satine didn't win that lip sync against Margarita, but either way,
I
I do
mean,
I do see a top three of Daphne, Satine, and Margarita happening. I do think the next two to go are going to be Laka and Nyx. And it's not just because I dislike Laka's drag as much. It's just I don't see Laka winning a makeover challenge, and I think Daphne kind of has that one in the bag. Now, who knows who they're making over? So maybe not. But if anyone's gonna bring the fashion, my money's on Daphne. So
well, as always, I can't wait to see how this turns out. And hopefully y'all can either, especially y'all made it this far. Thank you again so much for listening. And make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and let us know your thoughts on the season below. Who do you think will be the official Final Four? Because remember, top five semi-finalists, top four will be the finalists. So tell us who will be in your top four. And until next time, and on behalf of my co-caster, Piper Jack,